Early one morning, James the Red Engine was getting ready to take the first train of the day. As he chuffed forward onto the turntable, James glanced over at Gordon and Alfred. The latter engine was filling in for Henry, while the green engine was having his 5-yearly inspection at the works. "I'm glad you two finally ended that little feud of yours," James commented as he chuffed out onto the turntable. "So am I," Alfred replied. He was due to leave next, with a slow goods train. Once James had left, Alfred crept forward. Much to his surprise, the turntable bridge remained aligned for where James had been resting. Alfred whistled to let the turntable operator know he was ready. The operator strode over and peered into the pit, then turned to Alfred.
"The turntable seems to be jammed," said the operator. "Jammed?" Alfred asked. "Yes, the drive mechanism isn't engaging. I'll have to get some workmen done to fix it." The workmen soon arrived, closely followed by the Fat Controller. "How long will it take to repair?" asked the Fat Controller. "I can't say, sir," replied the workman. "It could easily take all day." The engines were dismayed. "Do you mean we're trapped here?" asked Diesel. "Don't worry, we'll have this fixed as soon as possible. I'll have to pull Edward and Donald off their branch lines to help James look after the main line until this is fixed." "But sir, what about the express? James won't be able to pull it and look after his mainline trains." The Fat Controller thought for a second. "Henry should be almost ready by now. I'll see if he's available to take the express." At the works, Henry was almost ready to go. All that remained was for him to receive a new coat of paint. A horrified expression crossed his face as he saw the buckets of paint the workmen were carrying. "Hold on, I'm supposed to be green with red lining, not red all over." The workmen chuckled. "It's a special undercoat, Henry. It will keep your green paint in better condition." "Well, I suppose that's all right." Before long, the workmen had applied the undercoat to Henry. "At least the other engines won't see me like this," Henry said to himself as the workmen applied the final brushstrokes. The workmen were about to start on his tender when the foreman came running in, accompanied by Henry's driver and fireman. "I've just had a call from Sir Topham Hatt," said the foreman. "Most of the other locomotives are trapped in the shed. He needs you to pull the express." "Looking like this?" "I'm afraid so, Henry," replied his driver. "Otherwise it's a long walk for the passengers." Henry's driver and fireman quickly climbed into his cab and fired him up. Still grumbling, Henry chuffed out of the works. Henry couldn't help feeling embarrassed as he backed down onto the waiting express. The Fat Controller grinned as Henry was coupled up. "Henry, you've helped me out of a very tricky situation." "I'm glad I could help, sir." But he didn't sound all that happy, and James glanced over from the next platform. "What's wrong, Henry?" he asked. "Well, it's not easy, being red." "Nonsense! It's splendid! Everyone looks at you as you go along the line." "Exactly," replied Henry. Before either of the engines could say any more, the guard's whistle sounded out. Henry didn't whistle as he pulled out. He wanted to attract as little attention as possible. "Cheer up, Henry," his driver said as they got underway. The express coaches came along smoothly, and Henry was soon cruising along the line. To be honest, he had been getting bored over the last couple of days, cooped up in the works. It felt good to stretch his wheels again. In fact, he was enjoying himself so much that he soon forgot he was painted red.
But as they approached Wellsworth, Henry felt the express getting heavier and heavier.
"Oh no, don't tell me my ejector's failing," Henry said, thinking of the time he had rescued 2 diesels and their trains.
Henry struggled into the station and stopped near the end of the platform. His driver climbed down and inspected the train. "There's a hole in the brake line on the first coach, Henry," he called. "Can we fix it?" Henry replied. "It looks too big for a bootlace job, Henry. We're going to have to leave this coach here." Unfortunately, Edward, who would have been waiting to bank the train up Gordon's Hill, was away with another train. Henry had to shunt the coach himself. By the time he backed down onto the remaining coaches, the express was already running late. Putting all of his effort into it, he got the train moving again. Despite the loss of 1 coach, it was still quite heavy. Henry reached Barrow-in-Furness without any further incident. As Henry pulled into the station, he saw Patrick waiting in the siding. "Hello, Patrick." "Good morning, Henry," replied the other railway diesel. "My controller tells me your railway is a bit short of engines this morning." "Yes, the turntable to the sheds has jammed," Henry explained. "It sounds like you'll be needed. I'm to take the train from here." Patrick looked closely at Henry, and the steam engine remembered he wasn't his usual colour. "You must have put in quite an effort to get here, Henry," Patrick commented. "What makes you say that?" Henry asked. "Well, you're looking a little red." "Red? I suppose I am." Both engines chuckled. The fat controller, who had been on the express, came up to Henry. "You did a fantastic job, Henry," he said. A moment later, the station master walked up to the fat controller. "Excuse me, Sir Topham," he said, "but there's a message for you from Knapford. The turntable has been repaired." The fat controller grinned. "I'm glad to hear it," he said. He turned to Henry. "You had better go back to the works, Henry. We can't have you running around like this, can we?" "Definitely not, sir," Henry agreed. And with that, he puffed off to turn around for the trip back to Sodor.